at the back of my head, I know that it's all it's all just your limbic system craving random things. It's all, there's, how do I say this? Mm, the most important thing to focus on is yourself, how you are growing, right? Everything else is noise. Focus on you, the person that you are at the start of the lockdown, today, 5 years later.
Yeah.
And what are you taking out of this? What are you bringing out of this? And more importantly, what are you creating that is original?
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the 43rd podcast of the Many Adult Travels. In today's episode, I have with me someone who I've been meaning to bring on my podcast for over 3 to 4 months now. Somebody who I've been seeing on podcast with Varun, with Prakhar, Vedant, and Divyansh, and all those people. A neurologist. Welcome to the show, Sid.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's a
So,
pleasure.
since I think the first time for the first time I discovered you was on Prakhar channel itself, and since then I'm sure you get this a lot, but again, coming from me again, that just wanted to have you on the podcast so that I can ask you a lot of questions about my brain in general, right? So,
Yeah,
uh,
everyone wants to know about their brain. It's actually the most selfish and the most understandable natural thing ever to
yeah.
want to know about your own brain. So I totally get that.
Right. And actually, to start off with, I just wanted to talk about you. So there's this calmness around you when somebody sees you, on YouTube. You create videos on live session, and all that. There's just this
Yeah.
calmness, the smile that you have right now. That smile, which makes me feel like, ki, being a neurologist somewhere, because you understand the brain so well, you sort of know ki why this guy is saying this, or why this guy is smiling or laughing, or he's sad. Somewhere down the line you're like, अच्छा इसके दिमाग में ये chemical चल रहा है. And because you know all of this, you're like, I have figured out life. This is what I think.
Well, well, I mean, I don't want to, क्या बोलते हैं, जोर जोर से स्कीम बता दिया, that I don't want to do that. There is, I mean, there's definitely a different perspective that it brings to you when you think about everything from the perspective of ये क्यों हो रहा है? Why is this happening? Why is this person saying something? From the perspective of neuroscience, it just gives you a little bit of a detachment. But I primarily use it just to sort of understand myself. I don't use it much to think about why is this person behaving this way. I feel like empathy helps. So when I talk to somebody, and also that's being a doctor, right? Like being that's part of being a doctor, that you have to constantly talk to patients and try to understand what's going on. And when they say one thing and they mean something
Yeah.
else, and at some point you sort of bring that from your workspace to your everyday life. So everyone you talk to, you're sort of trying to put yourself in their shoes and trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't really think, like, when I'm talking to you, I'm not really thinking about your brain and your neural net. I mean, I am now that you've mentioned it, but otherwise I would not have. I try not to use my powers for evil.
Got it, got it. So because you just mentioned that you are using it right now, what does your power say
Yeah.
about me? What is your power saying about me now?
Oh, so I think that you've become really comfortable in this role as a podcaster. Like, you've clearly, I don't know, I haven't seen your earliest shows, but I get the sense that I'm sure when you started off, there was a lot more of nervousness or just figuring out how to do a podcast. And now, when you say comfort levels, it
Yeah.
seems like you're very, very comfortable in this space of hosting podcasts. And that's really cool to see because it's infectious. So when
Yeah.
your interviewer is comfortable, you feel comfortable. So that's pretty nice.
Got it. Got it. All right. So I'm super dumb when it comes to all that dopamine and amygdala stuff. So if you can quickly break down all those terms for the
All of
audience.
it.
Yeah.
Really, all of it. Wow. How
Maybe
much
only
time do
the
we have?
maybe only the top four if you want to, which fascinates you personally
Sure.
because
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So, 5-minute introduction to neuroscience to all the listeners who haven't
sure,
been following my channel.
yeah. Go follow him
You
first.
have a brain.
Yeah,
Yes. So, in your brain, billions of neurons. Neurons are the brain cells. Neurons are talking to each other all the time. The way they talk to each other is through these connections called as synapses. and each neuron talks to another neuron through something called as neurochemicals or neurotransmitters. And one of the neurotransmitters you've heard of is dopamine. And different networks have different neurotransmitters. It's like how different parts of the world use different languages to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Same way, different parts of the brain use different neurotransmitters to talk to each other. And the parts of the brain where dopamine is used is where you feel happiness, you feel motivation, you feel alertness, you feel like, yes, let's get up and do something. That is where dopamine helps. And whenever you feel really up for it, that's when your dopamine levels are really high. So when you win a prize, when the girl that you like texts you back, that's that kick that you get, that is dopamine, rising in your head. So you have dopamine to thank for all the happy moments in your life.
Right. So in a way, music that we listen to, which makes us, motivated, happy, even speeches, motivational speeches, that in a way is just a chemical reaction in our brain ki bhai dopamine upar ja raha hai.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything is. I mean, I've heard people complain that when I put it like this, it takes the joy out of life, and I think it's the exact opposite. Just saying that something is chemicals going in your brain doesn't negate it in any way. I think it makes it all the more special. That how can just chemicals flowing through neurons create all of the things that we see around us and all the things that we feel? I think that is biological magic.
Yeah.
So you almost feel humbled, by the scale of it.
Right. I think what people mean is like, I think Kunal Shah shared a story on this, and he was like, I'm super happy. And there were the two photos, right? On the left, it's like, I'm super happy. On the right side, oh, stop it. It's just your dopamine rising.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. So you know what? Like I do this little cheating thing that when I'm happy, I don't remind myself that it's dopamine. I let myself be happy. But when I'm sad, I tell myself that, hey man, it's just dopamine going down. It's nothing personal.
Nice. I like this. This was nice. This comes back to that detachment part that you mentioned. That you can detach yourself. Yeah, it's like breakup ho gaya, or theek hai, dopamine is going down. We'll figure it out.
I mean, why are you so upset over some chemicals, man? It's fine.
Yeah, right. So
you might as well use it, right? Like you might as well use it to your own advantage if you have knowledge. Why not?
Makes sense. So quickly moving on to mix of success and brain neurology, psychology, whatever you call it, because you have spoken to so many people, successful people and obviously unsuccessful people as well in their own definition. But speaking to people like Varun, Prakhar, Divyanshu, Kunal Shah, Abish Matthews, and all those people, what do you see is the common? If I use the word right, psychology, neurology of their brain, what's the common factor? Why they are the way they are? The ambition, the success, the curiosity, whatever.
I'll tell you what. All of those guys have gone through really tough times. And all of them have somewhere figured out their own strengths and weaknesses. And all of them have figured out how to deal with their own strengths and weaknesses. Because what is success for one person is very different from what is success for somebody else. So there is no universal definition of success. So Kunal Shah succeeds in a way that is very different from how Abish Matthews succeeds. But the common thing is that they all know themselves. And when they start on a new project, a massive part of our energy actually goes in managing your own reactions, your own emotions, because every project is going to have a lot of ups and downs. That is inevitable. There'll be days when you're really good. There'll be days when you're really bad. For somebody who doesn't know themselves, a large part of their resources, their mental energy is spent on just managing themselves. But if you know yourself really well, then that part is taken care of. So you can actually focus on the important things, which is getting shit done, which is actually doing things.
Correct.
I feel that is the common thread between all successful people, that they can manage themselves first and foremost. Everything else will just follow.
All right. So that's why I'm assuming why meditation helps, because it brings awareness about oneself. That's why journaling helps, because it helps you reflect your thoughts. But you mentioned strength and weaknesses and managing oneself, right?
Yeah.
So how does someone not manage themselves? What do you mean exactly? Like, for example, if I'm sad, I'm just sad and I'm sad and keeps going on for days and days and days, and I'm not doing anything from that sense, or what?
Yeah. So that is one way to do it. When I say managing yourself, now I'm going to take a personal example. I know what are my strengths. I know that I can learn something very quickly, and I know that I'm reasonably creative in terms of imagination. My weaknesses are that because I feel like I learn something quickly, I tend to push it to the last day. I know that.
Okay.
I know that if I have a deadline, I will do something else till the second last day, and on the last day I will try and do it. Like for example, tomorrow evening I have a talk to give on headaches to all the local doctors.
Okay.
Now I've known this for like 2 weeks, and I also know that it'll take me 2 hours to sit with a book, read up on the topic, prepare a presentation, and prepare my speech. I will do it today evening. That is how I function. Now, that is my weakness. But because I know this, I arrange my life in a way that I get everything else done, and I create a window which is very, very comfortable for me to work at the last minute.
Okay.
And this is extremely personal for me. This is something that works for me and has been working for me for the last 15, 20 years. The point is that if it were somebody who doesn't know themselves very well,
Yeah.
they would think of this as procrastination, and there will be a lot of frustration, and there'll be a lot of, damn it, why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't I,
I see.
all that sort of self-questioning loop.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to waste even 1 minute questioning myself, because I have known myself inside out now. I know that this is how I function. So instead of constantly worrying about it, I will get a lot of other things done in the meantime and create this window where I can work on this one thing without any interruption. And I know that it's going to get done. This is just one sudden example that comes to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is what I mean by knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. What are you good at? And how good at it are you? If you know this to a dot, you can actually go in a flow. You know what to take up, you know what to say no to, and think of it
Got
as
it.
surfing. You know which waves you can ride, and you know which waves you should just skip out on.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And
Right.
it's all about maintaining your balance.
Yeah. If I see similarities in my life as well, so
Yeah.
I also have a lot of things in mind that I want to do. मेरे को ये भी करना है, वो भी करना है, ये भी करना है. But I see this common pattern कि when I am told to do this, or I have someone above me, who's maybe guiding me or mentor or something, then I'm able to do it much much easier and faster. Because in a way
Right.
it's a deadline कह लो या accountability कह लो, कुछ भी कह लो. So for example, I did not have a coach. I would work out. Sometimes I would not. I did not have that accountability or कुछ भी कह लो. And today I have to text my coach every day ki done, or he'll keep calling me that one. And for music, I see that guitar behind you. I just bought a guitar
Yep.
a week ago, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and I wanted to learn music for the longest of times. Finally, I'm in my hometown. I got a music teacher nearby. After this podcast, I'm going to him only, and
Lovely.
now I'm
You're learning
accountable.
the guitar.
I'm learning guitar plus music as well,
Too
vocals.
good.
So I see that similarity, of understanding myself, and I feel that I also understand myself very, very nice. मुझे पता है कि I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, I understand this, I have to work on this. But the question is, how do you go beyond this? मतलब I know कि I know for a fact that I know the steps, I know how to do that, but how action कैसे ले वो
Right.
that yeah.
So the what I said previously about knowing yourself really well is step one. Once
Wow.
that is done, then you are really good at consolidating now. So whatever you want to do, you will do it very well. But the problem is we confuse consolidation and growth. These are two different things. You want to know yourself very well to consolidate.
Okay.
But to grow, you need to step out of your comfort zone. You need to step into an area where you don't know yourself very well. And this is a balance that you have to achieve. You know yourself well, you consolidate. There are things that you know you can do, but you don't want to stay there all your life. You want to get to the next step. For that, you have to reach out and be in a place where you are not sure of yourself. And there is this zone of
I see.
discomfort just outside your comfort zone where you are not sure of what you are doing, but you are sure that it's not going to kill you, it's not going to overwhelm you.
Mm.
And that awareness has to be there. And if you can, I try to maintain myself in that zone where I'm 80% comfortable, 20% not comfortable. And that comfort zone will keep increasing then without you realizing. your
Mm.
your comfort zone, if say on my day one, you can think of it as, let's take the example of the gym or the guitar. Those are the perfect examples actually, because on day one, every chord will be outside of your comfort zone, but it's not a threat to you. You know you can do it. It's just that you can't do it right now. So you
Mm.
have hope. You will keep trying. You'll keep trying, and then the C chord will come inside your comfort zone, but then the F bar chord is not. Now you have to again keep trying, keep trying. So at
Makes
every
sense.
level, yeah, you're growing. You're not fully comfortable. You're not fully uncomfortable either, and you're in that state,
Got it.
and that's the zone of growth.
Yeah, I think this reminds me of Prakhar. Prakhar told me this, that you don't have to stay out of your comfort zone. You have to stay in the boundary between the comfort and comfort and keep pushing that, uncomfortable
Exactly.
zone. And what you mentioned was very, very, yeah, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Because this is how learning works. And
Mm.
tying it back to neuroscience,
Mm.
you mentioned two things. You mentioned dopamine and you mentioned amygdala.
Yeah.
Now, the importance of those two things in this conversation is that dopamine helps you learn. Dopamine gives you motivation. So you need a sense of curiosity. You need a sense of motivation in order to learn new things. Amygdala, on the other hand, gives you a sense of threat.
Mm.
And you need a little bit of amygdala activation to tell you that something is important. But if that amygdala activation becomes too high, then your mind freezes up because now you are under too much danger
Okay.
and now you can't learn anything. So
Got it.
you have to figure out that sweet spot of amygdala activation where a
Mm.
little bit is necessary, because that's how you know something is important. Otherwise, you'll just yawn, get bored, and go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But too much is like too much stress. Oh my God, I can't take this. And then you'll go away. So in both of those extremes, you'll walk away. And then
Got
there's a
it.
middle zone where it's just
Got it.
perfect and you are learning
Wow,
optimally.
man. Super interesting. It's like playing games with mind, play games with mind. It's like, and maintain that, zone. It's like, if I'm learning guitar, I can't think of playing Anuj Jain today itself. It's like playing Sare
Yeah,
Gama today. Play Sare Gama today, play Anuj Jain after 1 month. So play that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure
Nice.
out your zone of discomfort. It's different for everyone and it will keep changing for you. Every day is different.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Right. So this reminds me of a tweet that no, there was this tweet very recently. You tweeted it, I think 3, 4 days ago. Everything
Mhm.
is editable.
Yeah.
What do you
I think, yeah,
exactly?
Divyanshu
I
had tweeted that. I and Divyanshu had a Instagram
Yes.
chat,
Yeah.
and I had recently done a neurohacking workshop
With
with
Agmango.
Divyanshu's Tag
Yeah.
Mango,
Yeah.
and one aspect of that workshop was how you can edit yourself. And what I meant by that is all these things that you feel you do when you say that I am someone who procrastinates, when you say that I am someone who's lazy, or when you say that I am somebody who learns very fast, all these things are just neural networks. And these are neural networks that have been coded and reinforced multiple times by your actions. But nothing is fixed. Nothing is being laid down in cement and said that you can never ever change this. There will be varying degrees of difficulty. So something you've learned yesterday can be changed very easily. Something you've learned 20 years ago can be changed with great difficulty. But everything can be changed if there is enough motivation to do it. Even your instinctive responses. So the way you react. So if somebody is a very angry person and they accept that, हाँ मैं तो गुस्सा करता हूँ, मुझे थोड़ा भी irritation हो गया तो मैं गुस्सा करता हूँ. When you keep reinforcing that identity, it becomes more and more difficult to change. But the day they say that I want to change this, I don't want to be an angry person, it is editable. Identities change all the time. The only thing is they change without your conscious self, but you can change it voluntarily as well.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Atomic Habits by James Clear. In this book, he mentioned
Exactly.
that there's this guy he smokes, but he's trying to quit, and he says that I'm not a smoker, and he does not say I'm trying to quit. He says that I'm not a smoker.
Yeah.
So that becomes a part of his identity,
Exactly.
and got it.
Exactly. You need to change that basic wiring.
Yeah, makes sense. So speaking about weed and ayahuasca and all of these things that people do to go creative, one of the I think one of my friends, I think I was in third year of college, which is last year, and one of my friend used to listen to a lot of Sia, and she started smoking weed just because she thought that Sia smokes a lot of weed to make her songs. What is this creative? ऐसा कुछ होता है ayahuasca and all this weed and all that लो तो तुम creative हो जाओगे कल तुम
नहीं
क्या है ये scene?
ऐसा नहीं है. Creativity is basically your neurons connecting in a different way. तो हमारे न्यूरॉन्स को एक पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न सिखाया गया है कि तुम ये देखोगे तो तुम ये सोचोगे तो तुम ये करोगे. This coding is fixed because of our life experiences, because of the environment, whatever we have been taught to do. What creativity does is, I will see this thing, but so for example, this is a pen, right? You see this, your brain looks at it and says, hey, this is a pen. But what if I can train my neurons to connect random things and put them together? So now if I look at this and I tell you, think of anything except a pen. Now try to make this into something else. What will you do? Think of it as anything else.
Okay. I'm trying to think of it as a bindi.
Yeah, sure. Think of it as a bindi. Now, can you visualize it more? Can you think of, now bindi is an actual object, and you can keep doing that. You can even think of it in abstract terms.
Okay.
Now think of something that a pen would represent, for example.
Okay.
Now what you're doing now is forcing your neurons to disconnect, because that connection between this image, this visual image, and the word pen and the concept of the word pen are so tightly linked. Yeah. And they keep trying to connect. They're constantly trying to connect. And I'm forcing you to break that bond, break it. Now look at this and think of anything else. Try to think of abstract things. Think of it, say for example, think of a relationship.
Yeah.
All right. Think of a relationship. And now look at the pen. Now try to find what can be the similarities. What are the differences? How does a pen match up to a relationship? Now think of the concept of a relationship and how it can overlap with a pen. It's, it comes with a cap, and then sometimes you have to open the relationship in order to let language flow. You have to say that, the ink can run out if you don't refill
Metaphorically,
it. Metaphorically, you can say that every pen writes differently. Everybody's handwriting is different. And how we expect that all pens will work the same way, but they don't. And so on and so forth. And now the more you start thinking about it, the more connections will start coming in. And if you talk about this for half an hour, suddenly you'll think that, oh, a pen and a relationship have a lot in common. I don't know why half an hour ago I couldn't think of any similarities.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, what happened here is your neurons connecting in a different way, in a way that they hadn't connected before. This is art. What we just did is art. This is creativity. Now, the reason that it is difficult for a lot of people is because we are so trained to think in a particular way that it's a pain to come out of it. You have to literally break the neurons. There are a lot of creative Indians. Let's not.
I mean,
There is.
the education system, the way it sort of wrote and learning
Right.
and all that, that is what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, this is trainable. If you practice this, if you look at a pen and every day you look at a pen and do something else, you match it to something else.
Mm.
This is trainable. Your neurons will learn to look at things in a new way.
Yeah.
What artists do is they can now, especially the good artists, the professional artists, they're able to do this by choice. So if I tell you write a poem on a pen, you'll be able to write a poem in half an hour, in 20 minutes, if you've done this many times before. Write a song. You are able to look at things and you're able to look at notes on the guitar and match them in a way that hasn't been done before. Now, if you're not able to do this voluntarily, a lot of chemicals help loosen up your neurons. So weed, alcohol, a lot of psychedelics, they loosen up your neurons. So then your neurons don't connect in the same way that they're used to. So now random neurons start talking to each other.
Yeah. Makes
And
so
you
much
start,
sense.
you start seeing things in a very different way. You look at the pen and suddenly the pen starts becoming a snake.
Yeah.
Or the pen starts, turning into a circle because your neurons are not able to talk in the same way. And we say that, wow, I feel so creative. Except you are not doing this consciously. You are not being creative. The drugs are making you see things in a different way. And if you can remember those things and bring it back and write about it, you'll say that you made it happen. And that's fair. But you can do it voluntarily as well. Right? It's just about how tied down you are in your own head. And do you really need drugs to let yourself go, or can you do it by yourself?
Got it. It feels like you have said this to so many people so many times. You're like, kya gadhi audience hai yaar? Kitni baar batao?
Oh, bro, absolutely not. I think that this is something so fundamentally fixed in our brain. And I'm sure that a lot of people don't look at it this way.
Yeah.
And I don't mind saying this every day for the rest of my life if it can help people just loosen up a little bit, just let your neurons chill a bit.
While you were saying this, I was actually imagining all those songs where pen becomes snakes and wall becomes humans, that all that video creation.
Yeah, that's all trans.
Yeah. Got it. Right. So one of the most common question that I get is how to stop procrastinating. And it is so common that when I made a reel out of it, it went out to like 180K.
Wow.
Itna zyada, everybody asking me, how to stop procrastination.
Yeah.
How do you, मतलब वो comfort zone आपने बता दिया फिर भी, but still, as in, what's the, in my case, I think it's mostly we procrastinate on things that either we're trying maybe or we're not very good at, because we are scared of not doing good job at it, or maybe not, for example, guitar. I start playing guitar and not able to play Anuv Jain or any other song, and I'm like, nahi karna, amygdala aa jata hai, wo motivation nahi rehti hai, and I leave it. This is what I get, but
yeah, procrastination has everything to do with what you said, scared. So fear. The source of procrastination is a mixture of fear and screwed up motivation. So you have to be aware of what you're afraid of, and you have to be aware of how your brain is constantly looking for more important things all the time. When you're trying to study and your phone is beeping next to you, for your brain, it's thinking that there is something very, very important in that beep. There is something very important in that notification that I have to turn towards right now. This textbook can wait. There's nothing threatening me from this textbook. Interestingly, there's nothing that is going to help my life, but from this phone, something very, very important is going to come to me. That is the primitive form of thinking. And procrastination comes from a very primitive place in the brain. Procrastination is not an evolved concept. Procrastination is basically your primal brain telling your new brain what to do, as opposed to the other way around. Okay. So if you are in the jungle and you are trying to read a textbook, for example, so say you're in the middle of the jungle and you're reading your physics textbook. Every time there is a sound in the bushes, will you or will you not turn to that?
I will, yeah.
And there is some growl somewhere. Will you turn
I'll
there?
run.
You'll run.
In
Exactly.
the opposite direction, yeah.
Yes. Now, when you are studying, your brain still thinks that you're in the jungle, by the way. So when you're studying and your phone beeps, there is a chance that there can be something very important over there. And you will turn to that, A, to see if there is something threatening, and B, if there is a possible source of a dopamine kick. So every time you open Instagram and you see those red hearts and you see how many followers you've got, and every time you open Twitter and you see how many retweets you got, you're getting a dopamine kick. It is guaranteed that you will get a dopamine kick.
Yeah.
So you will chase it in the promise of dopamine kick. Now, the way to hack it is A, reduce the threat. Say that there is nothing threatening out there. मुझे कोई मारने नहीं वाला है. Right? There's nowhere else that I have to go. B, reduce your dependence on dopamine. Do not chase dopamine. It is an endless loop. You will never, ever, ever reach the end of it. You are always going to find another spike of dopamine, another spike of dopamine. And the thing with dopamine is that it spikes and it comes back. It falls down to baseline. It's not like you open Instagram once, it's going to improve your experience the next time or the next time. It's not additive.
Okay, got it.
You're not getting any advantage.
Yeah,
so
coming back to the
way, the way to switch it is to link your dopamine spikes to additive things. So every time you play the guitar, the next time you play the guitar, you are happy that you spent 1 hour yesterday because now today's experience is better. Every time you read a textbook, the next time you read it, it is helping you the next time. So turn your attention towards things that are additive and link your personality, link your dopamine to additive things. It doesn't matter what. Whether it's the gym, whether it is dieting, whether it is, creating a project, whatever. And identify additive things and link your dopamine to that. And the best way that for me, it's making notes or creating even your, you create a sheet of paper and you just start tick marking every day that you worked out. It's additive. You can see your progress. So now your dopamine is linked to that. And then you realize that scrolling Instagram for 1 hour doesn't add up. I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And then gradually your brain will shift towards additive things. That's the only long-term way of getting rid of procrastination.
Got it. That's why it's also so visual that the numbers when we see मेरे followers 7,000 से 7,001 हो गए हैं, वो एक ही बढ़ जाता है, सारा dopamine थोड़ा skip हो जाता है. Oh fuck, increase it 1.
Yes. And but the thing with Instagram algorithm is that next day it will fall by 5. And you are going to get utna hi, ya usse zyada. In fact, 5 plus and 3 down, you are not 2 plus. You are overall unhappy. That's the fucked up thing about social media.
Right. So my next question was actually coming to this. I have this friend creator, if you know Anushka Rathod. So I told her that I'm doing a podcast with you. I was having a conversation with her yesterday, and I told her कि भाई बताओ कोई question है तो for said. I was preparing questions for you, and she told me ask him about this mental health thing, like how to keep your mental health in check, because she's like everybody's fucked up in the mind. They might be happy, but कहीं ना कहीं किसी की intensity अलग है for sure. कोई depressed है, कोई depressed नहीं है, but everywhere somebody is, mental health, they're facing the issues, and especially with the creators. So much of energy of them goes out on creating, right? They are creating content, they're thinking about content, shooting, video creating, all that. And then high pressure situation. It's high pressure, right? It's 115K followers. It's millions of followers. And 1,000 भी कम होता है, 1,000 ही बढ़ता है, views गिरते हैं, तो obviously it will impact your health, right? Because it's not just numbers, it's also your money, it's your net worth as well in one way or the other now. Right? So how does one keep that in check?
So the challenge is that your like you said in your one line, you covered so many different points, because you're talking of your identity, you're talking about your validation. That is the most important thing. If your identity and your validation depends on a fluctuating social media scene, then by definition your state of balance is all topsy-turvy, because there are some days when you feel very, very validated, there are some days when you feel very low.
Yeah.
And when you are placing your sense of self-worth on something so erratic, then you're signing up for that. Your mental health is going to, if your mental health is attached to something so erratic, then you are signing up for a very
Detachment.
roller coaster ride. So the way to do it is, first of all, de-link your sense of self-worth from that onto something a little bit more constant. Even if it is just your own health, your own physical health, or your own, say, yoga or meditation, or your own reading, or something which is more stable. It could be a relationship, it could be a family ties, it could be a couple of really close friends that you have. Anything. Link your sense of self-worth to that, first of all, so that you have some ground to stand on. Because otherwise you're trying to balance things while standing on a ship in a storm. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Then after that, you have to think of this whole thing as a job, and try and de-link as much emotions as possible.
Got it.
Try
Detachment
to
is the key word here.
Absolutely. Detachment is the key word here, because the more emotions you put into it, the less clear you are thinking about it. So you have to think of social media as, if you are in that space where you are creating content for consumption, you have to think of social media as a job. You have to think of numbers as a job. You have to think of your followers as a job. Everything is transactional. Everything is mechanical. Gir gaya, you immediately look at Q gir gaya. Okay, this is a problem. I have to solve it. It's not personal. It doesn't mean that now I am 300 followers less worthy. It's not that. If you link that to social media, then you are tying yourself to the roller coaster. When it goes up, you go up. When it goes down, you go down. Then it is impossible to think clearly.
Got it.
Right? So everybody's job has that. Everybody's job has that ups and downs. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, if I say like, if you have to answer like 1 second, tomorrow you have 0 followers from 30 to 0, would you be happy? Would you
Obviously, it'll be so devastating, because tum jitna bhi bolo, a sense of your identity is linked to that. You have a sense of pride in it.
Yeah.
So if you have to really detach yourself, you have to remove that sense of pride, and you'll say that even if I have 0 followers, that's absolutely fine. And that is where those other links help. You have to give. One problem with social media is that when you get a lot of dopamine from this, you will take all your source of dopamine from other things and place all your eggs in this basket.
Got it.
Because it's a compounding thing.
Yeah, I think look at it more like a business than like validation is also a way to look at it. For example, I've been creating content for 10-11 months on YouTube. I've just 2,500 followers, right? Subscribers. I don't feel really, depressed or sad or whatever. And I keep, my consistency is still up. I keep uploading videos. At the same time, same on Instagram. I had been creating content longest of time. Only recently, I just jumped from 2,000 to 8,000 followers.
Wow.
And even then I'm like, theek hai, let it go, because I'm not treating it as a ki bhai net worth validation. I am treating it as business. Ki when I hit 50k or when I hit 100k, I can base a business around of it, is what I want to do, like personal brand sort of thing. I'm not thinking of it ki bhai validation mil raha hai, har din ke 10 DMs aa rahe hain, bhai great content. That does not drive me. I think this is also a way to look at it. Yeah, but why does we are so addicted to validation? Coming from you, and also a status game here, like Kunal se itna bolte hain unke bare mein. If coming from you, if you say me after the podcast, bro, you're doing great, lovely podcast, बहुत मजा आया, I'm like, yeah. And if my mom says me अभी कि बहुत सा podcast है बेटा, हाँ ठीक है चलो, that कुछ नहीं होगा. Why is this?
It's also unexpected, right? Because if I were to call you and tell you every day that, hey man, great podcast, hey man, great podcast, your dopamine will only last the first 2 days. After that, you're like, हाँ ठीक है, वापस call कर रहा है, wish कर रहा है, ठीक है, because it is now no longer a threat, or no longer a source of excitement.
Yeah.
So if your mom has been somebody who's been very, very critical of you for the last 3 years कि क्या कर रहा है, कुछ नहीं, बकवास कर रहा है, and then she comes and tells you कि आज का podcast, अरे भाई, like
दिन
you
बन
will put it up
गया.
on social media.
Yeah,
Feeling
yeah.
mom's love, you will put it as a tweet. It's all about threat, man. It's all about threat.
Wow. Yeah, it's such an interesting, fascinating game.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, we're just animals.
Hmm.
It's very silly. We're just or we are babies. We're just babies. We're just running after things. It's crazy. It's just adulthood is basically using sophisticated ways of justifying childish wants.
Makes you so humble. Makes you so humble at the end of the day.
So that's why I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything different. I mean, I'm also doing the same thing, but I have completely detached from the intensity of it. Like I'm still going through all of that. I'm still allowing myself to feel the joy, the sorrow, the subscriber kam ho gaye. Oh, there was a mean comment on YouTube. Oh man, Twitter mein kyun nahi ho raha hai? But at the back of my head, I know that it's all just your limbic system craving random things. It's all, there's, how do I say this? The most important thing to focus on is yourself, how you are growing, right? Everything else is noise. Focus on you, the person that you are at the start of the lockdown, today, 5 years later.
Yeah.
And what are you taking out of this? What are you bringing out of this? And more importantly, what are you creating that is original, that nobody else can create? Because there will never, ever be another you. Right? There will be a lot of people with 7,000 followers. There'll be a lot of people with 1 million followers. That's not the point. Right? The point is there will never be another you. So what does that mean? What is you? What is this thing that only you can do? This unique combination of your experiences, your upbringing, your thought process, the books that you have read, the friends that you have had, that combination is art. And there's nobody else who can create that one thing that you can create, but you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that is the only meaningful takeaway from all this. Everything else is noise.
Yeah, makes so much of sense. Like that's why it's said that be unique, stand out of the crowd. If I speak from a singing point of view, if Anuv Jain, I was speaking about Anuv Jain, I was speaking about there's another band, Chai Mai Toast, there's Local Train.
Of course.
All these guys might not be the best singers, and there might be a lot of, maybe 100 of singers who are better than these people, but we don't even know their names just because they are just cover singers. They just keep singing on songs that have already been made, and these guys have made their own song which is unique to them, and that's why it stands out and why they are what they are.
Exactly. So create stuff. I think if possible, without drugs. Let your neurons neurons go free.
Right. So how to be, how do you be aspirational? Like I want this, I want that, and not be drowned by ambition / competition at the same time. Ambition will always keep you unsatisfied. I remember writing on my Facebook bio in class 12th, ambitious and unsatisfied, and it still keep going, right? It's like सिट को पॉडकास्ट में लाना है, सिट को पॉडकास्ट में लाया, ठीक है, वो एम्बिशन हो गया, अब नेक्स्ट इसको पॉडकास्ट में कुणाल शाह को लाना है, वो हो गया, फिर वो गया, इट कीप्स गोइंग ऑन, राइट? एंड ये ठीक है, बट देयर इज सोशल मीडिया कंपटीशन कैन टेक इट अ डाउनवर्ड ट्रेंड एज वेल. लाइक यार इसके इसमें आ रहा है, मेरे इसमें क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, यार इसमें ऐसा क्या है? एंड यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट, राइट? द लूप starts coming. How do you detach from that, enjoy the process, give it time, and let the world do what it's, you get the point.
I let myself feel whatever I need to feel. So the point of detachment should not be that I shouldn't feel anxiety, I shouldn't feel fear, I shouldn't feel competitive. No, I detach myself at a point beyond that. Feel whatever you have to feel. It's part of the human experience. Don't deny yourself all of that. Be competitive, be motivational, be aspirational, be unsatisfied. It is fine. Who said that you have to be satisfied? Who said that you have to be happy all the time? You know, if you detach yourself at that point, then it is much easier because you are letting yourself be motivated by whatever it is that motivates you, and you are just looking at it from above and making small adjustments here and there so that you are sort of on the right track and you're not fucking it up too much. But you, because that is who you are, you cannot say that I will not feel anxiety or I will not feel whatever you are feeling, because that is an inherent part of you.
Got it.
You cannot become a computer. You cannot say I will not feel any emotions. No, feel it. Just be a CEO and let your boys do the work they're doing and just make thoda adjustments. Talk to this guy a little bit, talk to that guy a little bit, and fine tune the motor. And it is a constant process. You still don't know what is your limit of your efficiency, right? So you don't want to stop anyone. You don't want to fire anyone prematurely. You don't know what they'll bring to the table. You don't know what your anxiety can bring to the table, right? So try and get the best out of every part of your brain.
Got it. Super fascinating, man. Super fascinating. I think my dopamine levels are constantly up. I know it's not possible, but it's constantly up.
No, it is. This is a lovely conversation. I really enjoy conversations that just gets me thinking, because a lot of times these are thoughts that don't have words. And until you are in a conversation being asked the right questions in that right conversation, it just flows. And I really like that. And I'm glad this is recorded, because a lot of times these conversations happen in a at a club somewhere, and we're just talking and chala gaya, and then 2 days later you're like, क्या बोला था यार, बहुत अच्छा बोला था, क्या बोला था, एक tweet तो कर देता.
I know. And continuing this, I have another very interesting question. So you are sort of the scientific guy, right? You know the neurology and all that, and me on the other hand, not studied anything. I know कि भाई ऐसा होता है, बस पता नहीं क्यों होता है. So I feel that one of my strength is I am very good at maybe understanding a person's vibe or knowing what type of things he might like, or judging a person, but not उस तरीके से, मतलब maybe like ठीक है इस टाइप का होगा, ये बहुत ये है वो, समझ रहे हो आप, थोड़ा सा वाइब समझ लो या उस टाइप का हो. पता नहीं क्या कहते हैं इसको, maybe just good understanding of people or spending a lot of time with
empathy people. Like a kind of empathy. You try to get what other people are going through and where they are at their state of mind,
right? Something like that. So for example, if I meet someone for the first time or talk to them for like 15 minutes and just through their body language I can अरे ये तो ऐसी है something like that, or maybe ये तो बहुत कमाल का है, right? So that is what I mean. How do you break that down? Like I'm sure you do stuff like this as well, and you analyze it way deeper than मेरा तो बहुत hollow सा है, but yeah.
No. It's not like that. I don't analyze it very deep. Like I said, that was one of the first things we spoke about, right? Because when you're a doctor and you're constantly meeting people who are coming to you with different kinds of problems, a lot of times they don't say everything. They will come and say one problem, but they actually have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you only solve the problem that they spoke out, they will come back and say, I don't feel better. Because for them, they will not feel better until all their problems are solved. But they will not realize that they haven't shared all the problems. Because the human brain cannot be so calculating that, okay, I said headache, and since my headache is gone, I feel good. No, because as soon as the headache goes away, they will realize that they also have a backache. They'll also realize that they have anxiety. They'll also realize that they're not able to sleep well. But they didn't say this on day 1. They'll only come back still feeling sad, but because of a different problem. So you can either wait until they realize everything and they share, or you can increase your empathy levels and try to get into their mind and try and understand all the problems that they have. Because at the end of the day, you want to make them feel better. Period. So in this exercise, you unknowingly start developing this sixth sense of what is really bothering you. I mean, I know you said headache, but Come on, tell me what is really bothering
Ah,
you. And then they say, okay, it's because my my son isn't studying and he's just out with his friends all the time. And or somebody will say that no, my husband is drinking all the time, or something which they will not say
yeah.
on the first go. They will always say something else. And
Mm,
you develop, so it's, you can club it under empathy. I think empathy is a great word,
mm,
and
yeah.
we don't really understand the full extent of the word empathy. Empathy is like a magic power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Empathy is the closest thing we have to mind reading.
Oh, okay.
So if I have really high levels of empathy, I look at you and I know what you're feeling.
Mm. But that also means at the same time that you have to go through a lot of stuff, right? As a person, because you can't be empathetic if you have not, felt that same emotion in some way, because otherwise that would be sympathy, right?
Yeah. Mm, there's an interesting theory on this, that human beings have a much higher capacity for empathy than animals. And that is one of the reasons how we are able to function as a society. Because if we didn't have empathy, we would not be able to trust each other, or we would not be able to work together so well. And it would also mean that all of us will have to make the same mistakes in order to learn. All of us will have to go through the same experience in order to understand what that is. But because I have empathy, now say if you go through a breakup and you come and tell me, because I have capacity for empathy, just hearing you talk about your breakup, just seeing your face, looking at your emotions, I kind of go through it, so that the next time I go through it, I'm not going into it with an empty slate. I'm going into it with a shared experience of what you went through. Right? So it's a little bit like if you've seen The Matrix, and
Yeah.
how Neo, oh, you've not? Okay. So there is a concept in the Matrix where you can download entire pockets of knowledge.
Mm.
So if I want to learn Kung Fu, I just
Yeah.
have to insert the CD of Kung Fu and just install it in my brain. And now I know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
So in a way, we do have that. So just by looking at somebody go through something, you get the experience of what that person has gone through. So when you do it, you are not doing it completely
Got it.
fresh.
Is this natural to someone, empathy, or is like you can train it as well?
It is both. Everybody is born with the capacity for empathy. People can either increase it or decrease it. So everybody starts off with, I mean, in chess terms,
Hmm.
say everybody starts off with 800 rating, and then
Hmm.
the more you play, you can
Yeah.
keep
You
increasing your
can.
empathy
Yeah.
rating.
You can kill your empathy by being an,
Yeah.
completely arrogant, rude, whatever.
Asshole.
As
Yeah.
well is the word I was trying to.
Yeah.
Right. So second
That's
last question.
empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second last question is, so this question has been bothering me for maybe 2 weeks now, and this is a personal question. So
Mhm.
how do you reach the A level of success, कह लो या कुछ भी कह लो, but like the Kunal Shah level of success, or the Bhuvan Bham level of success, or the Shah Rukh Khan level of success, and this is coming from a point of view कि भाई we are trying so hard, we are so ambitious, we are trying to be consistent, we are making our networks, we are trying to make our end meet, and we're doing everything that we can,
Yeah.
but then a lot of things are not in our control, right? For example, tomorrow if my reel goes viral and I'm at 100K, wow, so many of my problems are solved automatically, right? Because if I have 100K, that gives me leverage to just text Tanmay Bhatt, and he'll be obviously
Yeah.
be interested in me because if I have 100K followers, right? So
Yeah.
that gets solved. That is uncontrollable, that's not my control, right? Second would be, uh I forgot the second point, but what was the second point? The first one was the 100 part. Second, interesting. Right. Second, right. So, for example, if Tanmay was my friend or Karan Johar is my friend, then, the favors come in. Not favors, but the network effect comes in.
Yeah.
And then I
Absolutely.
jump across, itni jaldi, fastly, मैं वो हो जाता हूँ, jump करता हूँ. If I'm at 3 level of success, tomorrow I'm like 9 level of success, overnight. So,
Yeah.
uncontrollable factors again. So, how does someone, you get the point?
Yeah, I do. And I think the answer is something that you said, that I would really advise you not to focus too much on uncontrollable things. Uh, because you have limited time, limited energy, you have limited attention. Now you can either spend it on things you can't control or things you can control, right? So the things that you can control will give you much more returns than focusing on things you can't control. This is just logical. And it's not that the things you can control are so something to be dismissed, because what can you control? You can control your attention span. You can control how focused you want to be. You can control your creativity, believe it or not. You can improve your creativity. You can become more creative. You can control how you learn. And you can control how quickly you learn. Now, this is very important because how quickly you learn will decide the turnover rate. So, how the difference between a linear scale and an exponential scale, or linear growth and exponential growth, is the log. It is the rate at which you learn. So if you are learning at a square rate, then with every iteration, like your podcast version 1 and your podcast version 2, the difference versus the podcast number 44 and podcast number 45, the difference is going to be so huge if you are learning at that rate, right? And you are improving at that rate. So that is something that is in your hands. Improve that fast, improve that quickly, which means learn that quickly, take in that much feedback, process it that much faster, and improve your outcome that much better. That is something in your hands, right? And then weird things happen around you. That's the way that life works. Life is a mixture of discipline and chaos. So the more you focus on the discipline part, the more the chaos seems to work in your favor, which people call luck, fate, whatever.
Yeah,
but
I was coming to that.
No, that's the dynamic. It's all thermodynamics in a way. So the more you focus on yourself and controlling yourself and becoming the best possible version of you, and there's no limit to it. There's, like, the best possible version is an abstract thing, right? Even Kunal Shah will say that I'm not the best possible version of me. There's always something else. There's always Kunal version 45, if he's working on 44. So there's and 45 will be much better than 44 because he's learning so well, right? So you can do that at whatever level you are at.
Got it. Right. I have so many questions coming in, but I can't ask more than this because people will stop watching.
Dude, yeah.
No, it's fine. Maybe
this was perfect though. This was a 1 hour lovely conversation.
Yeah, the 55th episode when I call you back, and if you come again, then I'll ask all those questions at that time. Yeah. Final question is three books, podcasts, and life lessons. This is something I ask everybody. Quickly, 3 books, podcasts, and life lessons that you'd want to share with the audience.
Wow. Okay. Books are okay. Very weird book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Okay. Yeah. There is so many levels to that book, and it just gives you a kind of perspective that most books have not, especially because it is a comic book. I mean, it's a humorous book. It's not a comic book, it's a novel, but it's a humorous one. And when I talked of creativity and when I talked of different ways of looking at things, we tend to think of self-help books in a very particular way. We say that, 7 habits of highly effective people and all that. We don't really think that a humorous book can give you so many life lessons without actually claiming to give you life lessons. So Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has too many undercurrents of philosophy. Yeah. So that is one. Sapiens. Yuval Noah Harari. Yeah, very, very good book. And Bhagavad Gita, something that I've read very recently from a neuroscience perspective. Very, very interesting book in the sense that I would suggest that everybody read it once now and then read it again 5 years later, just to see how the same book can be interpreted differently. Got it. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, podcast, dude. Follow Prakhar, check out Trifecta of Reality. I
Yeah.
think they're both,
Yeah.
really, really good conversations and just
Yeah.
opens up your mind. And one podcast that I particularly like is one called Radio Lab. It's not a self-help thing at all. It's just every episode just brings in a completely different perspective on how to look at the world. And like there was one entire podcast on how trees talk to each other. There's one podcast of how music has evolved through the ages. So after every podcast, a small part of your world will look different.
Okay.
So the next time you look at three trees together, you'll realize that, wow, they're in conversation. And it just changes your life. So I would recommend that everyone check that out. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Got it. Book life lessons. 3 life lessons.
Oh, life lessons. One, happiness is a scam. And I mean that in a very positive way. And it is essentially what a scam means is that I'm giving you something. And so one of the scams in my childhood was, there was this lady who visited all the houses in my colony, and she was selling basmati rice. And she opened the bag, and the smell of the basmati rice was so good that everybody bought 1 kg, 2 kgs. And then they opened it and they realized that only the top layer of the rice was basmati and the rest of it was just plain rice and it was like fuck all. And I think that is what happiness is. The happiness is just that dopamine spike at a very superficial level. So don't go chasing that. Don't spend too much time chasing happiness. Try to find some other meaning in life. It's just, in the long term, it just makes more sense.
Got it.
And all the things that you say will make you happy, you will get without chasing happiness. That's the irony of it.
Got it.
Right? So yeah, chase something else. Yeah.
Number 2.
This is a weird one. There is no right and wrong, but there are consequences. And this takes some time to deal with. So don't do something because it's the right thing to do. Don't do something because it's the wrong thing to do. All right and wrong are social constructs, but consequences hone wala hai. Like you kill somebody, you will go to jail. It's not because you did the right thing or the wrong thing. It's because there were consequences in that time and place.
Yeah.
Right. So try to detach yourself from this whole morality or the emotional aspect of it and just try to look at a situation and try to calculate what are the consequences of this action. Because right and wrong is a form of escapism. It's because you don't want to think. Yeah, I think that's about it. Two life lessons will suffice, I think.
All right, bro. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I'm not kidding when I say that this is probably the best, if not the second or third best podcast I've done across 1.5 years. बहुत मजा आया. वो 1 घंटा कैसे चला गया मेरे को पता नहीं. Thank you so much for coming. I have linked down Siddharth's handles: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Go and subscribe, follow, DM him if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. It's a validation. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Ayush.
एक second.
See you.
Recording बंद कर